right, all right. Let's get started, shall we? Ah! Hello, hello. Yes, my hair is wet. We don't have to make a big deal out of it, but I did shower. So hooray for me, right? But we are getting started. Only a couple of minutes late. That's pretty good for me. Um, we do have a screener tonight, which means that our line is going to be open over on YouTube. So, that is exciting. Hey to Agnostic on YouTube. Hey to Crovis on TikTok. We're getting started up over here. This was the topic that was voted on by my Discord. So, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I put a poll in the Discord, and this is what the people chose. By a pretty wide margin, actually. Much more than I expected. I expected it to be a little bit closer, and I don't know, it just seemed like this was what people wanted to talk about. So that's what we're going to be doing this evening. A big shout out to my partner at Sue for being my call screener tonight. So if you do decide to call in at that link up there, you'll get to talk to him. He's also lurking in chat. He sees all. He sees all, hears all, tastes all. This is a new layout, Wolfie. And Reagan, I'm trying to decode your question. Tends to be, though, they're not like to believe in God if you don't raise. Oh, they're not likely to believe in God if you don't raise them with Him. Well, if there were like good enough evidence, they would believe in Him, right? So if they're not believing in Him simply because they're not raised that way, it's probably not because there's good evidence, you know? It's more so people tend to cling to things that they grow up with, are raised in, and are familiar with. So I wouldn't say that that's necessarily like a boost for the legitimacy of the religion, right? The goat is adorable. Thank you. It was made by my friend art.bees on TikTok. They are my go-to for so many different art things. Did we use tentacle as a verb? Did I? I just talk about tentacles so much. I forget when I talk about them or not. What kind of mothers send their kids to hell? I mean, that's a good question. Like, what kind of loving parent would send their kid to hell? Supposedly God is all loving, which is funny because, like, I would say that I'm a regular amount of loving, and I wouldn't condemn anyone to eternal punishment. Just saying. So is that one aspect in which I'm nicer than God? Oh, what? Me? Blaspheming? Oh, I would never. Oh, I would never make fun of their bitch of a god. Anyway, if anyone would like to call in tonight, you can do it through TikTok or you can do it through the link. Looks like we've got someone over on the TikTok side of things. Hey there, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. What about you?
It's going all right. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Don, 30, and he.
All right, Don, what is your religion or lack thereof?
Christian. I'm Christian.
Gotcha. Well, raising kids Christian is horrible, Don. What are your thoughts?
Um, I would strongly disagree.
You would strongly disagree. Why is that?
I think it's a good thing to raise children up in the faith.
Yeah, that's the claim you already made, so why?
Good values, good moral ethics. Um, just a all around better human being.
Uh, and you think religion is the best way to achieve that?
Yeah. You don't think religion can achieve that?
I don't think it's the best way, and I don't really agree with many of the morals of Christianity.
So what morals do you agree with?
I agree with like the moral of loving your neighbor, even though there's like a bunch of asterisks in the Christian version, right? Like I would agree with that, but you don't need Christianity to tell you that, right? Because that appears in writings prior to Christianity. So obviously that idea existed before Christianity was around. So we don't need Christianity to tell us that.
So where do you think children should be getting their morals from?
Uh, where? Like what source? I mean, probably their parents.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think parents pass on their morals to their children. So, I mean, where do you think like people in general should get their morals from?
I think they should try to get their morals from a standpoint of harm reduction.
Harm reduction.
Generally, I mean that's a real oversimplification of things. But the thing is, me saying that raising kids Christian is horrible. I'd rather discuss specifically like the harms of Christianity when raising children, as opposed to like you asking me, well, how would you raise a kid? Because I'm pointing out specifically the problems with Christianity. I'm not necessarily trying to assert a specific worldview that kids should be taught in instead.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be just subjective though?
Yeah, this is a thing called a debate where we give our our opinions on things and we back them up with facts.
Okay. So I mean, the Bible says that honor your mother and father. Mother, Bible says that a man he sets up an inheritance for his children's children. The
Which
Bible
includes
also,
his slaves.
hmm?
That inheritance includes his slaves.
Yeah.
So should that be part of our moral system?
Should slavery be a part of a moral system?
Passing down our slaves to our children, yeah.
I mean, if we lived in a time that we had slaves, then I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, so Christianity is talking about passing down your slaves. Got it. So that's one of the moral things we should teach children. Um,
Yeah, but you do realize that we have slavery in our society right now to this day, right? That's
and
legal.
it's a bad thing. It's specifically an imprisonment because the amendment that did away with slavery
Yeah.
did
So if a
allow
person
for
does
it
something
as
horrible to another,
punishment. Yeah,
yeah.
it still shouldn't allow slavery. I don't think there should be slavery under any circumstances. I think that forced labor is extremely unethical. Um,
So what kind of hold on? But so then let's get into this. What kind of punishment do you think a person should receive that does something horrible to another person?
that's a complete pivot from what we're talking about. We're talking about
Yeah,
slavery, and
yeah,
now you're
but
trying to ask me about an alternative to the justice system.
no, but
Why you're trying to pivot so hard because you won't condemn slavery?
no. I'm saying that God has used slavery as a punishment to the people of the Old Testament in certain times. What I'm saying is that I see slavery as just a byproduct of just human society.
A byproduct of human society. So when God specifically tells them to take Midianite girls as sex slaves, that's a byproduct of society.
When He tells them to take sex slaves, what
The
verse you getting that
Midianite
from?
girls. It's Numbers 31.
And just give me the verses real quick.
It's Numbers 31. I'd have to look and check the verses. I just know the chapter off the top of my head.
And this is talking about when they went to war, right? I think this is talking about when they went to war, right? And then when they conquered the people, they ended up taking the people that was left over as slaves,
God
right?
commanded them to take the virgin girls for themselves to have as wives, which meant that they could have sex with them as much as they wanted
Yeah,
for the rest of
yeah.
their
But this
lives.
was a byproduct of war, right?
It's the Lord commanded them to keep these women for themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, this just wasn't something random. Was something going on?
The
That's what I'm asking.
Lord commanded them to keep the girls, the virgin girls, for themselves.
I understand that, but these virgin girls didn't appear out of nowhere. That's what I'm saying. Was there a battle going on and they conquered these people?
Is there any circumstance in which it's okay to take little girls as sex slaves, Don?
What I'm saying is, in the ancient
Why
world,
can you not answer that question?
is there any circumstance
Is there any
under
circumstance
under
where it's
under under my
okay to take little girls as sex slaves?
under my worldview, no. But you ask somebody 10,000 years
But
ago, they would say
under
yes.
God's, apparently, because God is the one commanding this. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, this is Numbers 31, starting verse 17, and kill every woman who has known a man by sleeping with him. But all the young girls who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourselves.
Yeah, I mean,
Is this the moral system we should be teaching children?
I wouldn't say like this part, but I mean, I would definitely say that. I mean, during for that times it was okay.
Do you want to say that again, or would you like to like give it another thought and change your
No,
statement?
I'm sticking with my thought. For them times it was okay.
Okay, you're sticking with your thought that child sex slavery was okay by God's chosen people and God's chosen prophets.
I mean, probably if you break down the word in the Hebrew, it doesn't mean they was actually like girls, like
It,
prepubescent.
well, your standard is prepubescent, so a 13-year-old wouldn't be a little girl to you?
I mean, how you know they wasn't 18 years old?
Because the marriage age of this time would have been 12 to 16.
Yeah, but the only factor that we have is that they were virgins. So a virgin can be a
Right,
virgin at 18.
right, but the marriage age was 12 to 16. They were married by 16 at the oldest traditionally. Um, so there's no minimum age here, but the maximum age would have been 16.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they was just like 5-year-old kids running around. Like most of the world back then married young.
Don, do you hear what you're making excuses for right now?
I understand exactly what I'm saying. During that time period, most women got married young.
Yeah, you're excusing grown men
Matter of fact, you,
raping
you
little
go back 100 years
girls.
ago. You go back 100 years ago in
You're
America,
excusing grown men taking little girls as war brides and raping them.
because that was the byproduct of war. Yes.
This is
During
supposedly God's holy people carrying out his will.
Okay.
So do you think that it's God's holy will to take little girls as war brides and rape them?
Yes. I wouldn't use the word great, but I wouldn't use that
Okay,
word.
well, forcibly have sex with a child. What word would you use for that, Don?
I mean, was they considered children back then or women?
You're disgusting. You're
I mean,
excusing child rape.
I mean, what's considered a kid today wasn't considered a kid back then.
Yeah, I fucking hate this, like, oh, well, there was a difference in the 12-year-olds back then compared to the 12-year-olds now. That's really fucking gross.
You just
Like,
admitted that they could have been like 16 or 17-year-olds when they got married.
oh, and that would have been so much better if they were raping a 16-year-old as grown men, Don.
But they married them, didn't they?
Oh, so it's fine to grape someone as long as you marry them? What do you
Like
think
a
the
man can,
victim How do you think the victim would feel about that, Don?
like, can a man grape his wife?
Yes.
I disagree.
You disagree. So if your wife doesn't want to have sex with you and you have sex with her anyway, that's not grape?
I don't know. A man has a right to have sex with his wife.
Gotcha. So you're just a grape apologist in general.
No.
Yes, you are. What you just described is grape. Are you married, Don?
No.
No, thank goodness. Because maybe you're not a grapist. Because if you were, it'd be pretty obvious by now that you were a grapist. I'm still kind of not sure. Have you ever had sex with a woman when she didn't want you to?
No.
Okay, try not to, if that's possible.
No, I've never done that before. Honestly, if it was me, I would just end up leaving. But I'm just saying, like, it's the right. Sex is an obligation within marriage, though.
No, sex is never an obligation. You never owe anyone sex. You never owe your body to anyone. You have autonomy over your own body. You do not owe it to anybody else, even in marriage.
By the fact of getting married, you lose a level of your autonomy.
No, you do not. That is incorrect, and it is disgusting that you think so. But hey, everybody in here, if you want your kids to be more like Dawn, then you know you should raise them Christian, everybody. If you want your kids to turn out like this, raise them in the good word. So yeah, thank you, Don, for proving my point better than I could have. Have an evening. Stay away from children and women. So, what a first guest. Am I right? Wowee. So, that was gross. Just to be clear, you never owe sex to anyone under any circumstances. Let's see. Hey there, how's it going?
How's it going? It's going all right here.
All right, can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Donnie, 28, he, him.
All right, and what religion are you, Donnie? It's just like the last guest, but with more letters. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, Christian. Maybe not in the traditional sense, but yeah, Christian.
What do you mean by not in the traditional sense?
I mean, I don't subscribe to a lot of the same bullshit that most people do.
Like belief in Jesus?
Well, no, I believe in Jesus. I don't see the Bible as this uncorruptible, 100% factual text. I think like anything else, people have had their hand in it. They've obviously changed things to fit their own narratives, right?
Gotcha. So, how do you decide what parts of the Bible you should and shouldn't listen to?
The parts that are about love are the only ones that really
So
matter.
the ones that you like?
No. The parts that affirm other things that are mentioned. To love thy neighbor, love God, love yourself.
Well, that's not exclusively Christian. So why do you feel the need to believe in Jesus to believe those things?
Because Jesus was the man. He was flesh and blood like you or me.
How do you know that?
Because it says it there in the Bible. This is a dude that existed.
The Bible is the claim, not the evidence.
Yeah, but we have record of him being crucified.
Where?
The Romans. What
Where?
do you mean? I mean, I can't pull it out of a fucking drawer. You know what I mean? There is evidence, though.
It seems like if you were going to cite something like that, you would need to, like, have the evidence.
I mean, this isn't a Harvard debate. It's a TikTok debate, but whatever. Either way, are there any religions that you think are all right with teaching your kids?
I'm not a huge fan of religion in general. I have less of a problem with, like, non-theistic religions.
So like Buddhism, things like that?
Just things where there's not, like, a god that people worship. Also just, like, I don't really like high-demand religions, especially. Christianity tends to be one. Christianity in particular is really, really damaging to children. So I just think it should be avoided. Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, a lot of people raised in the church don't realize it because that's what they're always used to. But once they get separated from that environment and they learn that those things are not normal, it's a world of change.
I'm not going to say that there aren't crazy Christian folks that are raising their kids shitty. I mean, my wife was raised by a pastor and her parents were abusive pieces of shit. You know what I mean?
I'm not even talking about that, though. I'm talking about the teachings of Christianity. For example, that we need to be saved from sins. That whole idea that there is this concept of sin and that we cannot be forgiven of it by our own accord. That is such a bizarre thing.
What do you consider a sin?
Well, I don't think sin is real, but Christianity believes sin to be going against the will of God.
Okay, well, I would say yes and no, right? I think that sin is anything that takes you away from God. It's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. And as people, we are prone to sin. We're prone to easy shit, right?
Yeah, I reject the notion that sin exists.
Would you reject the notion that people fall into bad habits?
That's not sin.
Well, I mean, it
And
could be
I don't think that good
in the
and
sense
bad
that.
exist as transcendental categories.
What do you mean by that?
I think that we just call things good and bad based on whether we think people ought to or ought not to do them. I don't think there's like
I
an
mean,
absolute good, absolute bad.
well, and I mean, in that context, given the last dude's argument, as per the time, the taking of child wives was not a bad thing. That was just the norm.
Yeah, except if you go at it from an internal critique, their God is claiming to be a perfect moral standard. He is claiming to be the perfect good. If that
But
is the case, then the things that God advocates for must be perfectly good. So that would mean that taking those children as sex slaves is good. Owning people as property is good. Raping women is good.
okay,
And
but they take this as the word of God based off of a book that some dude wrote just because he wanted to do weird shit with kids. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing.
it's
I don't
interesting that
believe
you're
things
describing the
like that
Bible
is.
that way, yet you are a Christian.
Well, yeah, because I don't believe the Bible to be 100% factual. I believe that people suck and they will change things to
Right.
fit
But
their own.
Donnie, if you're just picking the parts that you like, which is essentially what you're doing, because you're going, well,
Sure.
these parts are the fire and brimstone. I don't like those. I like the love your neighbor stuff, so I'm gonna
Well, no,
keep
I didn't
that
say that
and get
the
rid of the
fire and brimstone
rest.
shit doesn't exist.
But you don't
Undoubtedly,
like
right?
it.
Well, I didn't say that.
Well, you did. You said you
I'm
like the
not.
love your neighbor stuff and you don't like the
Well,
other
yeah,
stuff.
obviously, I love that part. I think that things are fallible in there. I don't think that everything in the Bible is 100% fact. I think that people have changed the Bible much as they've changed other literature to fit their own means. I mean, fuck, it's been translated how many times?
A lot.
It's been around for how long?
Yeah, but you
How many?
realize you are making a great case for why one shouldn't trust the Bible.
Not. I'm making a case for people to think, right?
Right.
Bring the
For
questions to
them
God
to
Himself.
think critically of the Bible.
Well, yeah, you should.
Please
And you
don't
can't say
engage
that
in
you
any
worship a God that
substance
believes in
use on my
love, and
stream, Donnie.
it's not. It's. I mean, it's a
Not don't say
non-nicotine vape.
anything that. No, okay, I'm sorry. I have to.
I
You
mean, it's
can't.
not anything
You can't
bad. It's literally
even
just.
say that shit on stream. I was trying to stop you. Um, if you want to try coming back later, it should be okay. But if I don't remove you, it's gonna give me a warning. All right, next up. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, give me a moment.
Okay.
Alright, so before I start, I gotta say that a lot of the stuff that guy said, I actually don't agree with him with. But
Oh, so
so
you don't believe in Jesus?
oh no. I think
Oh,
what he
disappointing.
was
All right.
saying.
Hold on. Gotta start first. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Age, you can call me President. 18, and he him.
What year were you born? Yeah, it's taking too long. Damn. Nice try, though, dude. We've got some spicy Christians on here tonight, really showing God's love by just making insulting comments about my appearance in the chat. Sorry that I took a shower and that offended people. Welcome in. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Hey there.
Yeah, you can call me anything you want. X. Age 35.
Sorry, you said hex or pax? What did you say?
X, X, X.
X, okay.
So age 35. I don't know what you mean by pronoun.
Yeah, if chat were going to talk about you, would they say, like, he, she, or they? Or something else?
Uh, uh, okay. No, I'm a man. Yeah, he. I think.
Okay. All right, so what is your religion or lack thereof?
Um, I'm a Muslim, but I mean, I've been living around Christians for about probably more than half of my life. I don't think being a Christian is gonna raise a bad kid because I have a lot of friends that are Christians and they raise in a very good family with good
Yeah,
morals.
my point isn't saying it's going to make the kids bad people. My point is that it's bad for the kid.
Why is it bad?
Because of the central teachings of Christianity, like the idea that we are sinners, deserving of damnation, that we need to be saved from our sin, that there is an all-powerful, supposedly all-loving God that will torment people for eternity.
So you don't think? I mean, hurting another people is wrong? That what sin mean? Sin mean wrong. That's what tell you
No,
wrong. It mean,
sin is specifically going against the will of God. It doesn't just mean wrong.
yeah, yeah. And what is the will of God? The will of God is when you hurt other people.
Well, in the Bible, the will of God is for slavery to exist, for babies to be slain by the sword, for little girls to be taken as sex slaves, for women to be set on fire if they have sex before marriage, for other women to be stoned if they don't bleed on their wedding night. Those are some things that are the will of God that I would disagree with.
A lot of Christians don't. They still don't go by that. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people stopped doing these a
Well,
long
that's the
time
will of
ago.
God, though.
Yeah, but a will of God. I don't believe the Bible is a completely 100%. All of it is because if there is a God, God's supposed to be good. If
Gotcha.
there is a God.
Is
So
it because in the Old Testament, like when Moses and them are like marrying the Midianite girls, they're too old for being married?
I didn't read the story.
It's better to get them
Uh,
when they're like 9, right?
yeah, I see at that age, at that time, age of marriage can differ because people mature a lot faster. There is no college, no work to do. It's just the woman. The best thing for women in society is to be a mother and care for her family. There is no college
If
or
that's if
work.
that's what if that's what she wants.
That's what they want. If they live it at that time, that's what they want. Believe me,
No,
they're not gonna be thinking like that.
you're assuming that because you're just robbing those women of their agency. Um,
Do you
and
know
just
why?
like
I'm gonna tell you why. Because at that time,
I don't
um,
need you to tell me why.
no, there is a reason for it.
I,
Because
I know I know that you look at me and you see someone who's just like be a baby factory, but believe it or not, even in societies that expect people to want to be mothers and caretakers of a household, that's not what everybody wants for themselves. So even if it is the cultural expectation, it's not always someone's personal desire. Just a cool little thing for you, and also very strange that you didn't condemn marrying children.
at that time, I don't know how people think at that time what girls approve of or not approve of. You're talking like you know what they will approve of at that time, and that's
Yeah,
crazy.
this is supposedly again the will of God. So if God is willing for this to happen, that would mean that it's
That isn't
morally
will.
perfect.
That's not the will of God to marry at a certain age. There is nothing in the Bible saying that you have to marry at a certain age. That's wrong what you're saying. Because I read the Bible a little bit, and as I read it, that part that I
I'm
read, it says
I'm
nothing.
talking about these specific circumstances where God tells these men to take these like virgin girls as their wives.
But that's the part is forgery by the people themselves to justify their own wrongdoing. People change whatever they want in the book to justify their own wrongdoing, so they can say, "See,
Okay,
God."
so once again you're just doing the things that I don't like are fake and the things that I do are fine.
Um, what you mean?
Like it's just strange to be like, "Oh, well those parts are fake cuz I don't like them, but the parts that I do like are fine."
No, because if there is a God, God's supposed to be good. There is, if the God,
Yeah,
if
and
there's a
you're
God that's not good,
deciding what is and isn't good and saying, "Well, if it's not good, then it must not have actually been God."
so
So you're reverse engineering this to try to like make it make sense with your pre-existing idea of God.
Yeah, God's supposed to be good. You don't think God, if there is a God, if there is a God,
You're not
supposed to be
listening to what
good.
I'm saying, Ax. I'm saying you're reading these like situations, you're reading these chapters that say these things, and you're saying, well, this is bad. You're making the judgment that it is bad. And since you're saying, well, if this is bad and God can only do good, then
Uh-huh.
this must not have actually happened. But how do you
No.
know that
Uh-huh.
that's just not what God's definition of good is?
No, definition of God good is to hurt people. If God is about hurting people, that's not the true God.
How many times does God kill people in the Bible?
I'm telling you, there is people are justifying their own wrongdoing, so that they can say God allowed that, so we can do that.
How many times
For
does
money
God kill people in the Bible?
and God Himself killing people. I mean, that is a disaster, and I mean, I don't know what you
There's
mean.
it's quite a lot in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament.
The
For one,
part that I've
you've
read.
got the flood with Noah's Ark, which supposedly killed all but 8 people that were on the planet. We have
Why do you
sorry,
think God wanted to do that? I don't know. Because I don't know. In our book,
your claim was that God doesn't want to hurt people.
Yeah,
That his
no,
ultimate will
God,
is to not hurt people. So why would he have wiped out all but 8 people if his will was to not hurt people?
no. If what my belief is that if someone, it's eye and tooth for tooth. If someone did something, you're supposed to do the same thing to them. If they really
Okay, so
meant to
God's
do.
will is not don't hurt people. God's will is if someone hurts you, hurt them back.
Yeah, if some that's. I mean, that's not hurt them back. I mean, if you have to, you have to. If you defend yourself, you defend yourself. That's what you want me to do, and that's what God wants.
God wants you to hurt people if you feel that they've hurt you.
If they did, and
That seems pretty
killing.
vengeful,
I
Ax.
mean, I don't want unaliving. That's normal. If somebody won't come on and alive you, you're gonna let them do it. That's weird.
I'm not saying you have to let someone unalive you, but to say
So
this
what?
person hurt me so I should hurt them back just sounds
That's what
more
I mean,
vengeful than
unalive.
all loving. If God is supposed to be all loving, wouldn't he want you to turn the other cheek?
How are you gonna turn the other cheek to someone that's wanna hurt you intentionally?
Well, in the
Why
Bible,
would God
Jesus
tell you that?
specifically
That's
says
when
to
he
do
got-
that.
he hurting you. If God will allow
Jesus
that,
specifically says that in the New Testament. I was quoting
that I
Jesus
don't
there.
believe in that. I believe in Jesus, but I don't believe he said that because he
Okay.
already said sell your clothes and sell your clothes and buy you a sword, and he said that in the Bible. So you have to understand that sometimes you have to use force if you want to defend yourself.
Yeah, Matthew 5:39. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also.
Yeah, but he also said sell your clothes and buy a sword.
But you just said that he didn't say that in the Bible, and I just read to you where he did
I
say
don't
that in the
believe
Bible.
that because he's saying, sell your
Matthew
clothes and buy a
5:39. If
sword.
anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. So are you saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is Jesus came in as a prophet, as I believe, from God.
Ax,
And prophet
you
of God
claimed Jesus did not say that in the Bible. Do you concede that you were incorrect?
I claim that he didn't say that. People put that so they can justify their own doing about, Caesar and give what Caesar to Caesar. That's crazy.
So it
You
is
think
in
that's
the
okay?
Bible, but you don't think he actually said it.
Yeah. Why would you think that the Bible, everything that the Bible said, that means Jesus said?
Well,
Do you
this
think-
is
do you-
specifically quoting Jesus.
Yeah.
I
that
don't
means
think
sure.
the Bible is real. The Bible is claiming this is real. That this is a direct quote from Jesus. Well, not direct.
I
Obviously, he
believe
would have
that
been
the
speaking a
Bi-
different language. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean that the original Bible is true, but it's different than what they changed to justify their own doing. Why would Jesus say, give Caesar what's to Caesar? Why would he say, give Caesar his money, while he know that Caesar was, a pagan and worshiping other than the true God, and say, give Caesar what's Caesar? Why
We
would he
said,
say
give to
that
Caesar
to the
what is
Bible?
Caesar and give to God what is God's, which was to say the monetary possessions are of lesser importance. So pay taxes to the government, it doesn't matter. Give to God the worship and obedience that he's looking for. So it was drawing a comparison between giving over monetary things to the government and giving over spiritual things to God. Um,
No,
that's what
that's
I
not what
was.
the other interpreters doing. There's a lot of sayings in the Bible that doesn't, because I told you there's another where it says Jesus said that I came to life to throw a fire on earth. That's what he said, and these doesn't, there is a contradiction if he say turn the other cheek while sell your clothes and buy a sword. That doesn't make no sense. One of them is true, and I believe that Jesus is
It's
at
because
the
the
time.
Bible is contradictory, X.
Yeah, it is. Because they added some stuff that justify their own doing, so they can.
And the Quran added more, like how to beat your wife, and Muhammad married a child. So
I told you that children is, in our understanding, is different than 2,000 years ago
how
or
old was Aisha?
18. I think the sources that we have says that when she got married, she was 6, and she consummated the marriage when she was 9.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're open about the fact that you are reading the words of a child rapist.
No. I don't think that Muhammad is child. I think he lived in a time where that used to be normal because his enemies didn't criticize him about that. They criticized him about everything. They was against him in everything, but they didn't mention this. It was normal at that time because everybody, I told you, females wasn't going to college or studying or working in a job. The life there is very different at that time. So there is no college, nothing. The best thing for women at that society is to be a woman and to make a good moral family and
Do
to
you think
bring
that's
children.
still the case today?
No, not today because life's changed.
So
And
what do you
there's
think?
nothing.
What do you think is best for women today?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, probably at this time you need, because everybody it's late to mature. So I think women matures now around 20, 21, 23. I don't know. Depends a little bit about the country where they live, but I think in the United States, I don't know, maybe 20 to 23. That's what I
Not
think.
marrying age. Just what do you think is best for women today?
To get married,
No, just in general.
what's the best for women in what to do in what? What you mean?
In their lives. You said that back then it was best for women to get married and be mothers and take care of the house. What do you think is best for women now?
Best for women now still is to get married, but there's another stuff that added society. It's work, and then job, and then the degree, and that can add more to the family. It will be more successful because the community require it, and that's what it is. But I think I think the best thing the woman can do is to have a kid and raise a good family. I think that's good for her.
Well, I'm sorry, but the correct answer was whatever she wants.
Of course, that in the end, that she will do whatever she wants, and whatever she wants is, believe me, whatever she wants. Sometimes controlled by the society. What she see around her is what she like. Remember that. Sometimes women's, in the end, they don't go by what they want 100%. So they go by what they want, but what around them teach them what's nice and what's good, and they learn that from the society, and that's how it goes. And remember that always people learn about what they like from what's around them, and that's throughout the country. If you go to anywhere, people will like what's around them. Will say what's right for them. It's what's right for everybody around them. So remember that.
Right. That was a lot to not say much.
What do you think? I wasn't fair about it? I think I was fair.
Well, I just think you said over and over that women are influenced by society about what they want.
Everybody, even men, everybody, all human beings influenced by society. They learn about what they like from what people around them like the most. Not 100%, not every woman and not every man, but most likely the percentage is I don't know, I think around 70% or 80% that people will like what other people like around them. And they think what's right, what's other people around them say it's right. And that's how it is. That's how
Yeah,
society is.
I'm just gonna
You don't think so?
disagree because I would say that I was taught that way, but that's not what I wanted, so I
Yeah, I
didn't
told you
pursue that.
80 to 70%. There are some other people that are different, but what's the percentage is more than 50%.
I
People
mean, you
are.
are just pulling that straight out of your butt. You have also been voted off the island, so have an evening. I do have someone over on the Video Ninja queue, but I'm curious about this guest that I have in the TikTok queue.
Find Jesus fat and you're retarded.
Yeah, that's what I thought. If you want to be more like that person, convert to being a Christian. That did sound like a very young person. I hope that you still have time to learn and grow. I think that you do. So. All right, next up over on our other call-in link, let's see, we've got Ink. Hey there, Ink, you able to hear me?
Mute your stream in the background just 1 second. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, Ink. So you are a Presbyterian, is that correct?
Yes, I'd consider myself that.
All right. Well, raising kids Christian is horrible. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I wouldn't blame a lot of people for feeling that way, given the way that a lot of people in America, especially, represent the Christian faith. Even within the last few callers, I just heard examples of people like you were saying, picking and choosing, and I don't think that's the way that you should read the Bible. But I also think a lot of people kind of don't really see the forest for the trees. And if you're inclined to reason with me, I think I could break through to you even.
Well, that would be something, but I got a question. When you say that you don't think people should pick and choose, does that mean that you think that the Bible is infallible?
I think it is. I think we don't have the purest. No one has the purest form of the Bible in the sense that it was a spoken word religion for hundreds of years before it was ever etched into stone or into any kind of text. So, to speak with any authority of, especially the historical parts, is just kind of silly. I think it's better to really understand it more as a book of parables, as the guy who the whole second half of the book, that Jesus guy, he definitely kind of understood that too. That's why he spoke in a lot of parables.
Well, if Jesus was a parable, then why should I listen to what a parable says about parables?
Oh, I don't think the man himself was a parable. I think he certainly existed, and
So
whether
then
or
how
not
do you
think
distinguish between reality and parable within the Bible?
So, even with I was kind of I want to build on what some of the people that came before me were saying, in the sense that they were kind of wrong about some things. Jesus himself was asked what the most important rule of the entire Bible was, and a lot of people don't know what that is, but it's pretty simple. It's the golden rule. That whole do unto others what you'd want done unto yourself. That is
Well,
the
first
most
it was to
important
love
part.
the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength, and then it was to love your neighbor as yourself.
They're one and the same. If you aren't loving your neighbor as you are loving yourself, then you are spitting in the face of God and really just waiting for bad things to happen, in a sense, because if you're not taking care of the people around you, you're really not taking care of yourself.
Gotcha.
That's why
Did
I'd
God
say,
want to have his wives raped as punishment?
so I don't what do you mean?
Like, if God had wives, would he want them to be raped as punishment for something that he did?
I don't really understand the context of the question, I suppose.
Well, it's just because if not, then he didn't really love his neighbor as himself because he did that to someone else. He had
Who?
David's wives raped as a punishment for David. So if he's trying to love his neighbor, I would say that's not, unless he's like a cuck,
It's an interesting way to consider a deity, I suppose, but no, I don't. I think a lot of the evil that exists within, let's say, the world. I think a lot of people forget that what we know as material existence is very much the realm of Satan. At least that's the way the Bible would pitch it, and I think there's good reasoning to consider it that because I like to think of the example of addicts the best. I live in Kentucky where there's
I
a lot of
hold on.
heroin
We're
addicts.
getting a little bit away from what we were talking about, because
Sorry, go ahead.
what I brought up was specifically something that God made happen. So it's not just that like evil exists in the world. God specifically, as a punishment for David, said, "I'm going to take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with them in broad daylight."
I would consider that an evil thing, but for God to be capable of evil is, something that a lot of people can't really reason with. But the whole thing with Jesus being this, you know, and you have to really take it as a lot at a logical level, or else you're just not. It's not getting through. And just hear me out here. So the whole point with Jesus is that all the evil of the world is redeemed through this character in the sense that as long as we learn and try to understand things from a perspective of of a loving and caring God, things will always get better. I would say I wouldn't say that things are substantially better in any great means because honestly I think technology has done us a lot worse in terms of enabling our beastly ways in terms of addiction and whatnot and other things like that. But I would say society has certainly trended upwards from the times of the Old Testament,
Yeah, but
especially in terms of.
we're getting away from the point again because you talked about like
Sorry,
a
go back.
loving God. Does the scenario that I described to you sound like a loving God, a God that doles out punishment to women by having them raped for something that their husband did?
This is the
Is that
same God that damned the entire human race for to a man for what his wife did. I'm we have to understand that some things are beyond our mortal reasoning, and I'm not saying that to justify that at all.
yeah,
Don't.
that's so
But
it doesn't sound like a loving God. It sounds like a kind of shithead God.
so I did submit myself as a Presbyterian Christian, which I certainly consider myself that. I like to, the whole meaning of that is you're supposed to, confer with the elders of your church to try to best understand the meaning of stuff. I'm sorry, I don't want to get long-winded here, but I also consider myself in a lot of ways a Gnostic Christian in the sense that I do think what a lot of people understand as the God in the material world is totally fallible, but I don't think the God that we really are trying to appeal to in terms of being a Christian is something of the material world. Like the Old Testament, that God, that
Okay,
dude back there, total dick. I
so
won't. I won't.
if he's a God that doesn't exist in the material world, then he doesn't exist.
No, that's not necessarily true at all. Because I mean,
Like
we
if he doesn't exist in
constantly
reality, he doesn't
hear me out.
exist.
Hear me out. We constantly do things in the spirit of things, and I know that might not make sense, you know,
Well, you're
initially,
gonna
but
conflate two definitions of spirit real quick, but I'll stand by.
well, how would you say that's conflation? I suppose is what I'm wondering.
Well, you're taking like somebody's attitude spirit and then conflating it with like some sort of metaphysical being sort of spirit.
No, I mean these very much the same things. That's what I think a lot of people kind of fail to grip with understanding religion on a metaphysical basis. If you do things lovingly, and I'm not saying people doing evil in the name of Christ are good people. Trust me, there's plenty of people who do evil and say it's in someone else's name. But I'm saying that whenever you set your sights upwards, whenever you're trying to do good in the world, appealing to the greatest understanding you have of that goodness is probably a good way to go about it. I mean that might be a little bit long winded, but I think that's on some basis agreeable to most people.
Yeah, again though, when you're saying spirit, you're using two different versions of what spirit means. Cuz
I guess I'm. It's hard to explain.
Because if you're talking about like the concept of love, that is not a spirit. That is not an entity. That is not a being. But you're talking about God as a spiritual being. That's a different concept from something like love or justice, which exist
So
conceptually.
a spiritual being does not necessarily imply perfection, because a being implies emotions and things that we could only
I'm not
attribute
saying
to
it
us
implies
humans.
perfection, but it does imply agency, and things like love, they don't have agency.
What do you mean by that? I'm curious.
A love is not an agent with a will. Love does not have a mind. It is a concept.
As a chemical reaction, I certainly agree, but I think, there's deeper. I like to go back to the Hellenistic, the Aristotelian ideals of like, well, yeah, the concept of ideals and whatnot, where we can't. No one can achieve perfection on within our human comprehension. It's just something that we can't even that we can comprehend yet can't. It's that's one of those little I'd say contradictions of life, but I think there's a beauty in that, because there's this old C.S. Lewis quote. I always struggle to find it, because it says, whenever I realize that something is unfair, I realize that I have an understanding of fairness that is beyond my mortal self. And C.S. Lewis, he was someone who struggled a lot with his Christianity. He's one of these, writers of the last century who certainly didn't embrace it for a long time. And you can even find some letters where he himself questions it. But I'm getting off topic here. ADHD. Sorry. Um, I just I do think I don't know, I kind of lost the plot.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this time real quick to shout out at GarbageMan86, who sent a super chat a while ago that I did not yet read, to say, this is a quote from Dawn. He's attributing this quote to Dawn. That 12-year-old better learn to make a sandwich for her husband. She's lazy. That guy was pretty icky, huh? Yeah, so, Ink, here's the thing. I feel like you're having a conversation with someone else right now. Because everything that I say, you answer with something completely different than what I was talking about.
I'm bad about the diatribes.
So I want to try to keep us on track here. So what we were initially talking about is like, hey, the Bible, how do you choose which parts you listen to and which parts are parable? Because you said you criticize people like picking and choosing what parts, but then you also said that you think some are parable and some are not meant to be taken literally, whereas some parts are meant to be taken literally, which to me sounds very similar to the exact same thing that those other guests were doing.
Listen. The only part of the Bible that is meant to be taken literally is the part where Jesus Christ says to worship. What you basically spieled out to me earlier, to know and worship only the one true God, and that being in and of itself, to love thy neighbor.
Okay, so Jesus being born was a parable. Jesus living a sinless life was a parable. Jesus being crucified was a parable.
Even if it was, there's a pretty good lesson in that, you have to admit. Like that's the whole point.
But I wouldn't devote my life to worshiping a parable.
I hate to reduce it to Pascal's wager, but if it came down to it, that's kind of the best way for me to explain it to other people. You have
if you're aware of Pascal's wager, you're aware of how easy it is to defeat by just saying, okay, what if your religion is the wrong one? What if you're worshiping a false god and the real god gets upset at you for worshiping a false god, whereas me, who doesn't worship any god, doesn't make that god as upset because I didn't worship a false god?
You're not losing anything, and neither am I by trying. That's the whole point.
Well, you would be. You would be punished by the real god for worshiping a false god. I would not be punished by the real god because I didn't worship a false god.
And this to me is where I would say one of those arguments about free will is important, or whatever your concept of that.
What does free will have to do with that whatsoever?
In the sense that whatever god you choose to worship is probably, speaks a lot about yourself. That's
doesn't speak to whether or not there is a god at all, or if there is, which one it is. Free will doesn't determine that.
So if I'm going to pick any god, I think it makes the most sense, logically even, to pick the one that believes in forgiveness as a means of eternal, reckoning. Because I'd say
forgiveness for some people against the eternal reckoning that he set up for those who don't get forgiven.
I'm not a big hell guy. I think that's a thing that that's certainly
another parable.
One of those things that people certainly insert that into the Bible. Jesus himself said to die as a rich man is to live in a lake of fire. It's not. I don't know if you've seen any lake of fires recently. We don't really have those on Earth, and I think it's
Yep, there was also the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, where the rich man is described as being in a lake of fire in hell, being tormented and begging for a single drop of water to cool his tongue.
yeah. You said a parable, so I mean, like,
Well, yeah, you're saying the entire
that's,
book
that's
is
the that's
parable,
one of the
except
things that I
literally
think.
this one verse that Jesus said, which makes no sense because if
No, I'm not.
if every
Listen,
other
you're
part
taking it to an extreme.
you
I
no
did not.
you
I didn't
quite
mean you to.
literally said the entire book is parable. No part is meant to be taken literally except the verse where Jesus says to love your neighbor as yourself and love God, is what you
I
said.
definitely misspoke there. I
Okay.
really should have said that if you're not processing that entire book, and really, I'd just say most of life as a Christian, through the lens that the God that you worship is eternally forgiving, and that's why you should dispense the same forgiveness upon the people in the world around you, lest you be a wrathful or a sinful person who takes out the things,
So,
of the world
to
on other
clarify,
people.
are you a universalist?
In what sense? That people are universally saved?
Yeah, does everybody get to go to heaven?
I think that if people turn their hearts, so even the
That could be a
Bible
yes
says
or
that,
no
and
because it's not about turning hearts. Universalist would mean everybody regardless.
I'm not a universalist. That's where it comes back to free will for me.
Okay, so you don't believe that
And
God is actually all forgiving.
well, so that's the thing. I can't say I don't actually know. I'm not the authority on the answers. It's kind of the thing
You
I
just
seek to.
expressed a view that would say that he's not all forgiving. If some people are not forgiven, then he's not all forgiving.
Well, that'd come back to where I don't know whether or not I believe in the concept of an eternal hell, because that kind of conflicts with the concept of
I'm
eternal
I'm
forgiveness,
not even
doesn't it?
saying eternal hell. I'm just saying, does everyone get to go to heaven? You can say like annihilationism, whatever, but unless you believe that everybody gets into heaven automatically, then you don't believe that God is all forgiving.
I think I've reasoned with it certainly, and it's something I certainly debate within my apologetics myself, because like I said, I don't submit myself as any extreme authority on the matter. It's kind of the whole idea of coming at it from a perspective of humility. Is I don't know, but I would like to think that people are all saved, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of the evil that is of this world is just of this world. I don't think people's if you want to say that someone has an immortal soul, I don't think they're necessarily bound by the evils of the flesh, because,
I don't think
I
we have
mean,
souls. I don't believe in souls.
well, I mean, what do you, in that case, what do you think is the difference between a living and a dead person, I suppose? The electrical charge?
Whether or not their body is functioning.
Well, I mean, you could get into a whole slew of, medical gray area evil, some sort of, um, I don't know, a Cronenbergian nightmare if you really want to just pursue that route. But I think it's certainly worth understanding that people have a soul, and that is the difference between someone being dead and alive. Because I mean, you can certainly put electricity back into a body. You can imitate the functions of life without something being alive, and I
Yep,
mean
there are qualities of life like maintaining homeostasis, like growth and reproduction.
yeah.
Like there are qualities necessary to be considered just a living organism whatsoever. Like it's an overgeneralization to say whether or not their body is functioning, but if they're not maintaining homeostasis, if they're not able to uh, grow, if they're not able to reproduce, I forget what the other ones are. I think metabolism, just like
Right.
having a metabolic processes. Um, I don't think a soul is what we determine it by.
You certainly can measure it, and I think that's something that science.
Can't
I
measure a
consider
soul, no.
myself for a long time, very much a more scientifically grounded person. But the last couple of years have certainly changed my reflections upon religion and the greater scope of things, I'll say. But I do certainly think that there is something that has to resemble a soul within people that
Why?
certainly persists even beyond death.
Why?
If you'll, why?
Yeah, what evidence is there of a soul?
I would say, in the sense, and I don't believe in ghosts or anything like that. Not in the traditional sense. I do think that people's love tends to live on in the people that they affect and the things that they affect in the world. And
That's not a soul.
well, I would ask what animates that love. You know,
I don't think that love is animated.
so you think we're just dead bodies walking around and talking, and that's been existence since the beginning of time? I mean, that's
No,
just
I
kind of a
think we're living bodies walking around.
living in what sense? There's no difference between a living body and a dead body in the sense that
Yes,
what
I
you're
just
arguing.
described to the like
Yes,
metabolic processes, able to maintain homeostasis, able to reproduce, able to grow. Like those are the qualities of life. When we stop doing those things, we are not alive.
I don't know. Plenty of people live without reproducing, I'm sure.
Well, reproduction doesn't just refer to like
The
having
ability to
babies.
reproduce, I understand. Yeah, and cellular reproduction. I'm being facetious. I don't
Right.
know why. It's silly. But I just, I don't know. It's something I fail to put into words, I suppose. I just, I am convinced, and I don't expect you to believe me on the conditions of conviction alone, but I am convinced that there is something greater to existence than just, us being these arbitrary things placed in the universe. And maybe that's just me.
Just not convinced of that. I haven't seen any reason to believe that like there is some thing out there that intended for us to be here.
I certainly don't believe in what most people consider creationism, but I definitely think that the intricate beauties of the universe that are beyond our mortal comprehension is something that evidences a grand creator. I
I
don't
don't
think that's
see in what way that would evidence a creator whatsoever.
well. I would say the fact that we can't do that, yet we can comprehend that. That's. You think
Again,
it'd
why
be
does that mean that there would need to be a creator? I don't think that anything had to make that. Like, I don't think any entity had to make that.
so? I mean, I guess I'm more curious about what you think the origins of existence are. Do you think that the Big Bang just happened?
Well, the Big Bang is not an absolute beginning to our universe.
It's
I think
certainly a
that the
theory still.
universe. Oh, you just made like 3 mistakes in one sentence.
The Big Bang theory? It's literally called that.
Yeah,
Like it's
and
not
what does a theory mean in a scientific context?
that it's not proven true, but it's
No,
certainly had.
that's not what it means.
Okay.
A theory means that it is the explanation for a phenomena that is like supported by the majority of the body of evidence. Um, it is pretty much the highest designation that you can get. Like theories don't graduate to become laws; they're two separate concepts. So theory means it's what all the evidence points to.
Okay. I'm not. I won't even deny that. I'll say. Let's say that the Big Bang theory is the given creation origin of all existence. But
It's not. Again, like I said, it's not the beginning of the universe. It's considered the beginning of the current state of our universe, but I personally hold to the universe being eternal.
okay, weird. I understand it. I can reason with that. I feel like we got kind of sidetracked here. I definitely think the God of the Old Testament was not the perfect God that the people that worship Christianity are trying to know in terms of doling out punishment to wives for the sins of their husbands, doling out punishments to husbands for the sins of their wives, doling out punishment to the to children for their fathers and vice versa. That's just not that is very incongruent with what I was saying about eternal forgiveness. And I think I do lean more towards universalism as much
Okay.
as it pains a lot of people to think because I myself have been the victim of a lot of I wouldn't say trauma or anything like that, but I certainly have seen the evils of the world at firsthand. Um, and I would not fault anyone for thinking that the Lord of this world that we know is an evil guy, and I'd say that he is. I'd say that's like Satan, but I'd say there's something beyond that animates things on a greater level. And I don't know how to. I've never been good at explaining that in words, I suppose.
All right. Well, I do have another caller in queue, Ink, so I think I am going to go ahead and move along.
Hey, I
Appreciate you coming
out.
up. Have a good rest of your evening.
Bless you.
I didn't sneeze. So I'm going to do a quick follow call. If you're already not subbed or following, you should go ahead and do that. Unless you're one of the assholes in my chat, then I don't really want you around. Hey there, how's it going?
Hi, I'm going so well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. Can I get your name, your age, and pronouns for me?
So my name is Sky. I am 25 years old, and my pronouns are she/her.
All right. What is your religion or lack thereof, Sky?
So my personal religion is agnostic. I don't necessarily completely believe in a religion, but I believe that I'm a good person, and whatever happens to me will happen to me, and I believe that sort of like it's weird to say, but I think that like good things will happen to me because I'm a good person.
Gotcha. Do you disagree with the prompt above my head?
In terms of Christianity, like raising kids Christian is horrible. I will say no. The only reason why I will say no is because my partner, he was raised with Christian parents in terms of his mother is a Christian, his father is a priest. And the way that he was raised was his father and his mother have always made him feel like whatever you are is what you are. If you are gay or if you are bisexual, that is the way that God raised you. That is the way that God made you. God made you within his own image. And if that is the way that God made you, that is the way that you are.
Let me ask you this. Did they teach your partner that Jesus died for them?
Yes.
Did they teach them that Jesus died for them because they are a sinner?
No.
So why did Jesus die then?
Jesus died because of the people who he trusted. Was sort of they fucked him over.
No, what was the point of Jesus' sacrifice in the Bible, if not to save people from sin? That wasn't supposed to be a trick question, Sky. Oh, they're teacupped. Sky! Well, this is a great chance to read a super chat that we got from Boogie the Cat, which has an adorable little bear flipping a table, and it says Jesus Bear fucking up the moneylender's table. That's right, drive them out of there. Righteous anger. I was always taught that that was an example of like righteous anger was Jesus like driving out the money changers. Because they were telling us like, you know, how wrath is such a horrible sin. Yet here's an apparent example of Jesus doing it. Oh, and Sky has disappeared. Okay, well, odd.
Hello?
Hey there. Welcome
Hello.
in. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Mike, 20, he, him.
All right, and what is your religion or lack thereof?
I don't know if this is gonna get me like kicked or something, but I saw your stream another time and you said,
I don't know where that was going, but I didn't like it. I was not answering my question, so it felt like he was gonna slur. If you have something you want to say that's not related to the topic above, put it in chat, but I could hear you trying not to laugh, so I just... Not a huge fan of wherever that was going. How are we doing tonight? I haven't had a chance to stop and say hey. I see that we've got some of our regulars in here. And I know some people are over at Joel's, and that's okay. I'll forgive them eventually. Maybe. But did you guys have a good day? do anything fun. I didn't really do anything all that exciting today. It was kind of just straight from work to home, eat dinner, then get ready to stream. That's how a surprising amount of my days go. Hey, Victor, welcome back up.
Hey, Magnet, how's it going?
I still think that clip is very funny. It has not been getting enough attention. So, I know we've met before, but if you would just refresh the audience for your name, age, and pronouns for me.
43, Victor, he is whatever,
And what is your religion or lack thereof?
Christianity.
So, raising kids Christian is horrible. What are your thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I have a question for you though about the last caller in regards to the universe being eternal, in your opinion.
Okay.
Where do you get that eternity concept or word from to come up with the conclusion that the universe is eternal? Where do you get it? Where does it come from, that idea of eternity?
Yeah,
And the
so
word
I
eternal.
would say time necessarily must have always existed. There cannot logically be a start to time.
Based on whose logic? Human logic?
Just our laws of logic are just our ways of conceiving of like certain truths of the universe.
Okay, so yeah, human logic.
Yeah, that's the only logic we have access to, Victor.
Correct, that we have access to. Yeah, that's true. I agree.
That's the only logic that we could possibly ever use.
Right, so we're limited to that one.
So you're also using human logic.
I agree, 100%. I hope so.
All right, glad that we both agree.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what answer you expected me to give there. If you agree.
No,
that
I'm just trying to figure out like where the word eternal comes from. You know, the origin of words. If you study that,
I don't know the etymology of eternal. No.
Well, I can tell you it comes from the Bible and God. So
Okay.
You believe in something, a concept that is really originated in the Bible by God, that now you adopted
and I go out for Christmas brunch too. Does that make me have to be a Christian?
No, I'm not saying you have to be a Christian for believing something is eternal. Yeah. I'm just saying that's where the concept comes from.
All you're acknowledging, if that is even true, again, I'm not aware of the etymology, but if that is even true, the only thing you're acknowledging is that Christianity in particular has had a cultural impact on the world. That doesn't lend any credence to God existing. That doesn't mean that there is a God that is eternal. That just means that people believed in a God, attributed the idea of eternity to this God. Like, that doesn't make your God any more real.
Sure.
So, again, time necessarily must have always existed. If time has always existed, then I see no reason to believe that the universe didn't also always exist, because how would time exist absent a universe?
Okay. So to your question about raising kids Christian is horrible, I don't agree with that.
Were you raised Christian, Victor?
Yeah.
Were you told as a kid that you were a sinner?
Yeah.
That's the main thing I have problems with. There's a lot that I have problems with raising kids Christian, but the biggest one is just telling them that they are sinners and that they need to be saved.
So what's the problem with that?
It's gonna really kind of fuck that kid up psychologically.
In what way? Like, for example, me. In what way I'm fucked up psychologically?
Yeah, so you were told from a young age that you are a sinner who is worthy of damnation, who can only be saved through the grace of God.
Right.
That if you internalize that belief, it's going to give you a very low self-esteem.
Well, why are you saying that of me? How do you know I have low self-esteem?
I said if you internalize that belief.
I internalize that belief, yes.
Okay, do you believe that you are a sinner worthy of hell? And that can only be saved through God's forgiveness?
Correct.
then you do have low self-esteem. You believe yourself to be so low, you believe that you are deserving of eternal torture. I cannot think of a lower self-esteem than that.
But that's according to you're deciding that
Like,
yourself.
is there literally any way to consider yourself lesser than to say that you are deserving of literally being tormented for the rest of eternity?
I don't understand your question, but
some people have like low self-esteem because they're like, oh, like my nose looks funny, or like my hair
Sure.
is still damp.
Sure.
Your version of low self-esteem is, oh, I am like just scum who's worthy of being tormented for the rest of eternity, unendingly, like viciously just suffering to the most extreme degree that humanity can possibly imagine for literally now to the end of time.
So can I ask you a question? Sure. Let's assume that you know me to say that I have low esteem because I believe that.
You just expressed to me that you have low self-esteem. You said that you are worthy of eternal torment. That's very low self-esteem.
That's according to your judgment. But I have a question. Why is it that it's such a big problem if hell doesn't exist? Why is it such a big issue to you, that thinking if hell is not real, or heaven? If all of these beliefs are fake, why is it so?
Because people take actions based on the belief that it is real.
Yeah, like what action have I taken?
Well, I'm not saying you in particular, but people who believe these things
and people who believe those things.
Yeah, I'm not saying every single person does. I'm saying there are people who do take these actions because of these beliefs specifically. Actions that, absent of these beliefs, they wouldn't take.
Sure, and there's people who don't believe on any of this and take actions that are, to your opinion,
but not on behalf of these beliefs.
On behalf of other beliefs.
Right, so I'm criticizing these beliefs because absent these beliefs, they would not take those actions.
Okay. Well, I just find it a little funny. I had a discussion with the guy earlier about hell and how I was so bad about thinking that some people could go to hell because they don't believe in all of this. But he was so upset for something that it doesn't exist to him. You know, to him, it's not real. Sorry, it's not real. So it's just very funny how upset he got at that when that doesn't exist to him. It's not real. So how can you get so upset of someone thinking that when
Victor,
no one, like, I'm not sending anyone to hell?
It's even worse that people believe in it when it's not real, because then they, like you, carry the belief with them that they are worthy of being tortured eternally. That is the lowest opinion one could have about a person.
But what is the issue for that? With that,
that harms people. That harms people to have that belief about themselves.
You're making assumptions though, on people. That
I'm making an assumption
you're talking to one of them. And I can assure you, you can talk to every Christian in this chat, and every Christian in this chat will be different than your assumption.
If I told you that I thought I was worthy of being tortured, do you think that's a harmful belief? Not even eternally, just at all. If I were to come to you and say, hey, Victor, I think that I need to be sent to Guantanamo Bay for a week and just waterboarded for a week.
Then I will ask you, why do you think that?
Oh, because I'm just like horrible, filthy sinner, and I deserve to be punished for my sins.
If it's the same belief I have, I don't think any of us are worthy to question that. We didn't create ourselves. Like, you didn't create yourself.
Okay, so it would not be harmful if I said I think that I should be sent to Guantanamo Bay and waterboarded for a week? That's not a harmful belief to carry about myself?
It depends on the context, though.
What if I said that I thought I believed to be beaten?
Like, I don't know what you have done to believe that, so I don't know. It depends on the context.
What if I said, like, hey, Victor, I think I'm an awful sinner. I think I deserve to be, like, brought out into the streets and beaten in public. Is that a healthy thing to think about myself or an unhealthy thing to think about myself?
Well, it depends what makes you come out with that conclusion.
Is there any way in which it is healthy to come to that conclusion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you just asked me that question and say, yeah, I don't feel worth of anything better.
That's unhealthy, Victor.
that's your. I have a lot of peace, and I don't feel like psychologically in any trouble, and I can assure
I
you,
think everyone
all of
in
the
here
Christians
can
you speak to in
recognize.
here
I
would
think
be the
everyone
same
in here
way.
is listening to you right now, Victor, and thinking, oh, he doesn't realize how fucked up he is psychologically by this religion.
Well,
Be-
me and hundreds of people who are going to talk to you in the chat for many months, years. So you're gonna find the same
that
type of
doesn't
people
make it less
saying the
fucked
same
up.
thing.
That just means you've all been indoctrinated with similar beliefs. Victor, this is part of the problem, and I mentioned it earlier, like, a lot of the times people who are raised in this as kids, they don't realize how fucked up the things that they're being taught are because it's so normalized for
But
them. So for you,
it's not affecting my life
beep,
or
beep. For you, the idea that someone believes they are literally worthy of the worst treatment imaginable for the rest of eternity is not something that's inherently unhealthy. How would you stop anyone from harming themselves under this idea? If someone says that they want to, like, bring some sort of harm upon themselves, you wouldn't be able to condemn that. I can.
and how much is happening on people harming themselves because of this idea? Like how much do you see that happening in the
A
news or wherever you want to
lot.
see it? No, that's not true.
A
You're just making
lot.
no, you're just making something up. Like if you ask any person who studies suicidal
You
and
can't
real
say that word. You can't say that
oh,
word, Victor.
I'm sorry, I don't know the rules. But you know
I
what I
have.
mean?
I'm so sorry. You can't say that. That's why I was trying so hard to talk around it. Fuck. Yeah, we can't say that in here, unfortunately. Victor, I'm assuming that you're still in here. The things that you believe about yourself, that you are worthy of this sort of pain and torment literally for the rest of eternity, that is because you've been indoctrinated to believe that it is true. Um, that is a horrible thing to think about yourself. And I would hope that if, like, a loved one said that about themselves, you would tell them, like, hey, no, that's not true. You don't deserve to be treated that way. Because it's just horrifically inhumane otherwise to be like, yeah, you deserve that terrible treatment. Like, yeah, the worst stuff could ever happen to you, and you would deserve it. Like, can you imagine? I know I went through a crisis where I was, like, going through some really intense psychological distress and did want to harm myself. I no longer do because I sought proper mental health care, which is good, but primarily because of the guilt of believing that I was a sinner and believing that I wasn't worthy of forgiveness. It is something that happens, and I'm not trying to use, like, purely anecdotal evidence here. I mean, we can look at some of the self-unaliving rates of people. It's certainly not zero among Christians. And that's not to say that every time it does happen, like, that a Christian does do that to themselves, that it is because of guilt. But it's not a healthy thing to internalize that you deserve to be treated that way, that you deserve torment, particularly eternal torment. Like, there's literally nothing that anyone could do that would be deserving of eternal torment. Whatever person you're thinking of, even blank, yes, even they are not deserving of eternal torment, because we live finite lives. There is no world in which it is just that someone receives infinite punishment for finite transgressions. And it's just always so sad to hear people talk about themselves that way. We had another Christian come in and say that they, like, just straight up say they weren't deserving of love. They weren't worthy of love. That's really sad to hear. Because they were worthy of love. They had just been taught that they were not. That they received love through just God's mercy, not because they were valuable in their own existence. What a horrible thing to grow up thinking about yourself, right? And that's part of the problem that I have with raising kids Christian, is because of those sorts of beliefs. So that's not even, like, taking into consideration the rampant amount of abuse that happens to children in church settings, and the church's history of covering that up in pretty much every denomination. That's not even talking about how it grooms children for certain things, such as getting married very, very young, or getting married to people who knew them when they were children. Just, I'm not even looking at those external factors. I'm specifically looking at the teachings of Christianity itself. And I'm trying very, very hard to not go into something that's like super denominational, right? I'm not trying to go with like, oh, well, this one particular thing that's taught in this denomination. No, I think it's pretty universally agreed upon in Christian denominations that Jesus died to save people from their sins, right? So that's the biggest thing that I really try to drill home when I run this particular topic, because I want to be clear on what I'm criticizing.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, welcome in. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns?
Yeah, Servant, you can call me Servant, 20, and Ian.
All right. I think I have a guess, but what is your religion or lack thereof?
Yeah, I'm Catholic.
So that would be just Catholic?
Yeah.
You don't
Christian
consider yourself
Catholic.
a Christian? Okay.
No, I'm Christian, I'm Catholic.
Some Catholics consider themselves Christians, some don't.
Well, objectively they are Christians, because we'd be
You'd have to argue with
pre-denominational,
them about that.
I guess. But,
So, raising kids Christian is horrible. What are your thoughts, Servant?
yeah, I'd have to ask why.
Yeah, I did just go on like a 10-minute long rant about it. Did you happen to catch any of that?
I caught a little bit of it, but, those seem to be just, like issues with specific homes. It doesn't seem to be an inherently Christian principle. For example, there'd be some Christian homes that don't raise children like that. For example, you said, like to dismantle one of your points, you said that okay, like raising kids in the church is wrong because the church has a history of sexual abuse.
Servant,
and things
Servant,
of
you did
that
not
nature.
listen to me.
Yeah,
You did not
you
listen
could
to
repeat it.
me. Because I specifically said I try not to bring up, like, I don't depend on those points of them having a history of sexual abuse or them grooming children, because
Okay.
I want to focus on things that are instead central to Christianity, that I believe is universal across denominations. That was like the
Okay,
entire
perfect.
point of the rant.
Yeah, I should have. I joined at the end of that bit. So yeah, I should have.
Yeah, so it's more that I have problems with, like, the idea that, like, I do have problems with those things. Those are things that I definitely do criticize. But when I'm saying something as general as raising kids Christian is horrible, I think it has more to do with the idea of teaching kids that they are sinners, that they need to be saved from their sins.
Yeah, so if that proposition would be true, that kids are sinners and that we do need to be saved because we as humans are not perfect beings, then what would be the issue with teaching that?
Well, number one, I don't think it is true.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, that's a huge leap to make, though, for me to try to, like, argue as if it is true.
Yeah.
Do you think that God would condemn children to hell if they're not saved?
Children, no.
Okay, then it's unnecessary to teach them that. So I would say the harm would be causing them unnecessary psychological trauma when they would go to heaven anyway.
Yeah, so parents just like I was raised a Christian, became
Me too.
agnostic, then Christian again,
I
and
was
my parents
Christian for
never went up
17
to
years.
me. My parents never came to me and said, "You are a sinner. You are a sinner." No, my
No
parents taught me.
pastor ever taught you that?
No, I'm Catholic. No pastor ever taught me that either. What the pastors
Interesting.
would say is that we as Christians, especially as a kid, from what I can remember, like I was like, let's say 5 years old and I did something wrong. They'd be like, okay, you did something wrong because we are tainted by this sin. And due to
Oh.
being tainted by this sin, we do wrong things. We do things that are wrong. But we have Christ who died on the cross, and therefore we are forgiven for our sins through God.
Okay, so yeah, they
So
did
I don't
teach you
see how
exactly
that's a-
that.
Yeah,
they
I
didn't.
don't see how
They
that's
didn't
a
teach
wrong
me that I was a sinner necessarily, like, and Jesus had to die to save me from my sins. They just teach me that I was tainted by sin, and Jesus had
Yeah,
to
because
die so
when
I'd
you
stop
do a
being
bad
tainted
thing-
by that sin.
And
That's
yeah,
the
when you do a
same
bad
thing, Servant.
I'm saying when you do a bad thing. For example, like I think that babies are innocent children when they die, they'll obviously go to heaven. So I'm saying when somebody does a bad thing, we're taught, okay, why do we do bad things? We do bad things because not inherently us that we are sinners. It's that we have, due to a downward spiral, we've been tainted by sin. Not that we inherently are sinners. So I still don't see how that's a bad thing. It'd be in the same thing of in an
If we
atheistic.
are, wait, so we only are sinners in the moment that we sin, and otherwise we are not. That's the only way to make your claim make sense, is if you hold that to be true.
We're sinners because in human nature, we sin due to bad urges. But the thing is, inherently, we as human, in our human nature, are not sinners.
So can you answer my question?
Yeah, I did answer your question.
No, you didn't. So are we only sinners in the moment that we are sinning?
No,
or are
I don't even see where you got that. That's
well, because you were saying, oh, only when we do bad things, that's when we recognize that we're sinners. Because I was specifically saying my problem is the idea that teaching kids they are sinners in need of saving. And you said, oh, well, we don't teach them that they're sinners. We just teach them that they're sinners in the moment that they do something bad.
I said that I don't teach them that Christians don't teach us that we are inherently sinners.
So you don't believe in original sin?
Original sin, I believe in original sin, but
then we are inherently
sinners. Hold on. The state that we're born at isn't our inherent state. Like, if you were Catholic, wait, were you raised Catholic?
No.
Okay, then you wouldn't understand, because the original state of human nature would not be sinful. It would be perfect, since we're made in the image of God. So that's why I'm saying we would not be inherently sinners. We would be sinners because of we have been tainted by sin due to Adam.
So that would make us, as people, inherently sinners.
Yeah, not inherently sinful, because our human nature is not inherently sinful. It would make,
But we, as people, are inherently sinners. Our human nature might not be inherently sinful, but us, as people, are inherently sinful.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Yeah,
we're inherently sinful because we have the ability to do bad things. Yeah.
That is the problem that I expressed once again.
Yeah, why is that a problem?
Teaching kids that they're inherently sinners and that they're that Jesus had to die to save them from being inherent sinners. That's the problem.
Why is that an issue? Because we know that when something bad happens,
it's psychologically damaging to a child.
Well, I don't think so, and I think history would prove that wrong because, I mean, we obviously live in the Western ethic, and the reason why you have your ethics, regardless of what you think or not, is because of Christianity.
Yeah, I just disagree with causing unnecessary trauma.
Yeah, why is that unnecessary trauma? I don't think it's traumatizing. Like, it wasn't traumatizing to me. Maybe it was to you. But
do you believe that absent of Jesus saving you, you're deserving of damnation?
Define damnation.
Tell me your favorite flavor. Any flavor, really, but
flavor. I think that we're, we would be deserving of, sorry. We would be deserving of non-existence, yeah.
Okay, so you're more of an annihilationist.
I don't have an inherent view on hell. I lean towards annihilationism and a little bit on hopeful universalism.
Do you believe in purgatory?
Yeah, I believe in purgatory.
What happens in purgatory?
Yeah, the washing away of sins.
How so?
We enter heaven. What do you mean, how so?
What is the process for washing away those sins?
Why the hell would I know that? It's a theological thing. It's not something that we know.
So you don't have any belief as to what happens in purgatory?
Well, all I know is that our sins are washed away, our venial sin, and our stain of sin is washed away, and then we enter heaven. There's no need to know the mechanism.
Imagine any other, imagine just someone talking this way about anything else. It would be labeled as cult.
Yeah, you're saying it's cult and crazy, but I can show you how your
it just washes away our sin stain through the cleansing of blood in our souls through purgatory's spiritual cleansing.
Yeah, you're saying it's weird, but I can show you how your worldview doesn't coherently make sense and how you have no knowledge. You want me to do that for you?
Are you about to run tag? Because that's pathetic.
Pathetic? All right.
Yes.
All right, well, then let me... Okay, what would be your justification for abstract concepts of the laws of logic?
Well, no, that's not what tag states. Tag states that God is the that your God is the only.
Did I say I was doing tag? I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I never.
I said, "Are you doing tag?" And you said, "Okay, let's go." That implies that you're running tag.
You said you're doing tag. That's idiotic or whatever you said. And I All right. I didn't say I was doing tag or not. I said I was going to ask you a question and prove how your worldview is incoherent.
Okay, so
So,
if
yeah,
I say, "Oh,
what's
you're
your
doing
justifica-
tag," and you say,
I'm
"All
asking
right,"
you. I'm asking you what your justification for your knowledge claims are,
the
and the laws of logic
justification
that you
for my
presuppose.
knowledge claims. Okay, you gotta
Yeah,
slow
what
down with
is
the
it?
glossary bullshit, servant. So, you were saying that without God there is no
Yeah,
knowledge.
exactly. I never said that. I said, what is your justification for the laws of logic or abstract concepts? That's what I asked you. I asked you
My
what's your
justification for the laws of logic? The laws of
Yeah.
logic are separate from the concept of logic itself.
Yeah, I said, what's your justification? Because no matter what, you presuppose the laws of logic when
Yeah,
you're
the
making
law,
propositional claims.
the laws
So
of
what's
logic
your
are
justification for it?
intersubjective. The laws
The
of
laws
logic are intersubjective.
subjective?
Intersubjective.
What does that mean?
Yes.
Could you define that?
Yeah, so the laws of logic are just our means of conceptualizing logic itself. The laws,
Okay, are
you're
they
confusing the
objective
map
or
for.
subjective, host?
They're intersubjective.
So could you define that term?
Yeah, so it is mind dependent, but it is from multiple subjects. There is like a universal agreement upon the laws of logic.
A universal agreement, but it's also intersubjective. Could you explain how that's the case?
I don't understand what you're not tracking there.
No, so you just said that it's intersubjective. It's universally objective, but under
I did not say it's
subjective
universally.
minds-
I did not say it's universally objective.
You said it's. Wait, could you explain what you said again?
Yeah, so like another thing that I compare for like intersubjectivity would be like the rules of chess. Right? There's
The
not.
rules of chess.
Sorry?
No, I was just like saying, repeating
Okay,
what you said.
so like there's a
Correct me.
generally agreed upon rule set for chess. There's,
Okay.
a right and wrong way to play chess.
Yeah.
It's generally agreed upon by a lot of people, but there's not like objective chess.
I mean, there is objective chess if you're playing it like in the way it was created. For example, if I
No.
create a video game and the main character is red,
Can you
then
define objective for me?
the objective would be stance dependent.
Or mind
Sorry, yeah, stance
independent? Yeah.
Yes, stance independent.
Yeah, so without a mind, there would be no creation of chess. Chess was created by a mind.
Yeah, but that's not where when you said chess, we're talking about you were using an analogy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that the laws of logic in itself would be mind dependent. And since we know that they're mind dependent and minds itself, would you agree that the human mind is subjective?
Yes. So you're
Okay, then how
agreeing
would
that the
the
laws of logic are subjective.
Okay, so
Woo!
okay, perfect.
We
So-
got
so-
there,
so-
servant.
So
Yay!
instead of intersubjective, it's now subjective. Instead of intersubjective, it's subjective. All right. So if they're subjective, then
So
what's
if
your
you
so if the laws of logic are subjective and I simply deny your logic and say that God exists due to the fact that God must exist, and that contradicts your logic, but subjectively to me,
Well, that's where we
I
get the
think that logic
prefix,
makes
my
sense.
friend.
Then so subjectively
That's
to me,
where
I
we
think
get
that
the
logic makes sense to me.
prefix.
So would I be
That's
wrong?
where we get the prefix.
You're running now.
Intersubjective.
You just said subjective. You just said you agreed logic is subjective. You just said that.
Servant. I was establishing it's subjective. Now we're establishing that it's intersubjective specifically.
Yeah, just admit that you had you made a mistake. It's cool. It's cool, host. All right, now what's the intersubjectivity? Could you explain it?
I already
Yeah, do it
did.
again. Could you do it again?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so that would be across many subjects.
Okay, so it's intersubjective. So it's subjective across many different subjects. Then okay, that would still mean it's subjective. What does that change?
It's a prefix. So you're saying, oh, well, I can just make it whatever I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not quite the case. If it is,
Yeah, why not? What's the
because if it's
argument for
across multiple subjects and you disagree with those multiple subjects, then you're in disagreement with.
Well,
laws of
most
logic.
people in the world, you would agree, believe in God, right? So under their own paradigm of logic, they would say that they've come to the conclusion that God exists. We would know that the minority of people are atheists.
Do you
So
think that's a
therefore-
good
and
argument,
therefore-
servant?
No, I'm saying therefore in your logic, since you're saying it's intersubjective, therefore if we are going by, let's say the majority
We're
of
talking
people,
about the laws of logic, which are
Yeah.
concepts created by people to try to understand observed phenomena. That is not the same thing as saying that God exists because people believe it to be true. So
Yeah, but
the
people use
existence
logic to
the
come.
the existence of an entity is not going to be the same thing as a grouping of rules made by people to understand a certain concept.
Yeah, I mean, you're still not tracking like my argument. What I'm saying is that since the laws of logic itself are mind dependent, and you said that they're intersubjective. But what I'm saying is that intersubjectivity, it doesn't matter because, like, what are you saying? Are you saying that because the majority of people see logic in a certain way, it makes it semi-objective? Like, what are you saying?
No.
What are you saying? Yeah, then explain it. Because I've never heard anyone,
The
including
laws
like,
of
the many people that I've
logic
debated,
are not
say,
objective.
Okay,
The
what are they?
laws are our means of conceptualizing the observed phenomena of logic.
Okay. So there are means of observing this phenomenon. Okay. So if there if they are means of observing these phenomenons, would these like rules, like, could they be changed?
Could they be changed?
Yeah, could they be changed, or are they objective? Like, let's say the law of identity, could that be changed?
If
Could I disagree with the law of
Servant,
identity?
you've interrupted me 3 times when I'm trying to answer your question.
Yeah, would that be, could you answer?
Hopefully. So
I'm waiting. Are you ChatGPTing this?
So, for the 4th fucking time, if the observed phenomena changed and we had to reclassify our conceptualization of those phenomena, then perhaps. But until then, we have no reason to change the laws of logic because, again, it's our means of conceptualizing this certain phenomena. So if that phenomena doesn't change, why would our understanding of it change?
Yeah, so why should we trust our materialistic way of viewing things if
Because we can't solve solipsism.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that like, you obviously believe in evolution, right?
Yeah, but holy pivot.
Okay. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we have no reason in your worldview to trust our
Don't do that fucking
views
quote mining
things.
of Darwin. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. You're running the
Mining of
fucking
Darwin?
gambit of shitty apologetic stuff.
What are you talking about?
There's a classic quote mine of Darwin where it's like, oh, we have no reason to trust our senses if they evolved, which is like just quote mining bullshit.
I mean, that's like, what would be your argument against that? Because why would you trust what you are viewing as actual reality?
Because it would only be advantageous to us if the sensory information we were taking in was accurate.
Yeah, why? Why would it be? Why would it be?
Because if we don't,
objectively, why would it be like lead to objective?
Servant, you have to stop asking me
questions.
Servant, I'm going to mute you because you cannot keep asking me questions and then talk over me the second I try to answer. Okay?
Lay your epistemology because you're contradicting yourself.
If you give me time to speak, I will do just that.
Come on, I'm waiting.
Oh my god, you really think that you can just talk over me and win an argument that way? Thank you, babe. If you wanted to stay on that mute button. Yeah, so it would not be advantageous to the reproductive fitness of an organism to receive incorrect sensory input. For example, if we were to not perceive a predator that was there, or if we were to perceive a predator that was not there, both of those would be disadvantageous to us. It is literally only advantageous to us to have this sensory input if it is accurate. If it does not comport with reality, then it is completely useless to us. So that is why we have good reason to believe. So that is why we have good reason to believe that our servant, you do not get to talk over me on my own stream. That's your last warning, okay? So we have no reason to, there would be no reason for us to have this sensory input if it were incorrect.
Yeah, again, you presuppose that what we see is already reality. I'm saying that if there was some sort of quantum view that we are supposed to see, but we simply hide that fact through our consciousness, how do you know? Why can we trust our consciousness if our consciousness, we know that we don't have a material substance for qualia?
So while you're muted, I ask that you keep your mouth closed and ears open, because it seems you did neither of those things.
Yeah, my ears are open. I've been interrupted.
Goodbye, servant. So what I had just said was it would only be evolutionarily advantageous to us to have that sensory data in the first place if it was accurate. So I'm not presupposing that it is accurate. I'm saying, in terms of evolution, the only way that it would be advantageous is if it were accurate. That's not presupposing. Anyway, servant, you were extremely disrespectful that entire fucking time. You can't just ask someone a question, speak over them, pivot on to the next thing, rinse and repeat. Just not how it works. Hi there, welcome in.
Bro, you interrupt like 10 times more.
Ginger fat faggot, ginger fat.
If you want to be more like that person, become a Christian. Welcome back, by the way. Love that you stuck around to come back and say more slurs. Behold, a Christian. So, if you want to be like them, start reading the Bible. Because that's what's going to happen. You'll be like our last few callers. It's great. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people definitely use slurs when they have good arguments, right? Well, it looks like I do have someone in my other queue. So let's bring up Blake. Blake, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Blake, I have here that you are a Christian, specifically Church of England. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Well, welcome in. Raising kids Christian is horrible. What are your thoughts?
I think there's probably some truth in that. I think it definitely depends on, where you're from, the kind of Christianity you sort of grow up around. I grew up around, Christianity for us was sort of more of a cultural thing. The village church was really the only time you really got to see a lot of people in the village, right? I'm from a village of, maybe 1,500 at most. So it's sort of a place that you just sort of gather, really. It's not this sort of preachy sort of Christianity almost, you know.
Did you believe in Jesus?
Yes, yeah. All the sort of scriptures, yeah. Yeah.
Did you believe that you were sinners and so Jesus died to save you from your sins?
I mean, again, the sort of core tenets of it is sort of important to us.
But was that something you were taught?
Yeah, definitely taught that. Yeah, definitely that was part of the teachings. Yeah,
and that's kind of what I have a problem with, right? I think teaching that to kids, especially, is just really putting unnecessary psychological trauma on them.
Yeah, I think if there's a sort of a shame message and a sort of a scare message with it, I think definitely not great for kids. 100% with you there. There's no way about it. And that wasn't what I grew up around. I grew up gay, and nobody in that community ever said anything negative about that. Not once. Parents, fine. Friends, nobody. So certainly, definitely not the kind of Christianity I grew up around.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I try to refrain from just talking about like specific actions of the church when I'm having this particular discussion, because I do feel like it is easy for people to say, well, my church was different. But I have a problem with some of the teachings of Christianity itself and a lot of the content of the Bible that I just think is harmful to teach to kids. Having been a Christian myself for a long time, having been raised in the church, there are things in the Bible that just kids shouldn't be taught. And some of it's not universal. I try to stay away from stuff that seems very denomination specific. Like, I know not every denomination necessarily like believes in a rapture, but I think it's super harmful for kids to be taught about a rapture too. It puts them into like a constant state of fear of like, at any moment everyone around me could disappear. People could be called up to heaven and we'd have to leave everything behind. That's a terrifying thought to have as a child.
Yeah, that was not a sort of message that I sort of grew up with. Sort of interestingly.
Yeah, but it's pretty common in the States.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there probably is a vast difference between our two countries. I'd imagine. we are very much. I mean, even sort of Richard Dawkins in the UK describes himself as a cultural Christian. He likes the churches. He likes the architecture. He sort of likes that. That's sort
He's
of
an
the general
asshole.
message here, really. So, would you think it would be better if I grew up without it?
Yeah. I think here's
Yeah.
the distinction, because I understand that it was a source of community for you. I agree that having
Yeah.
a source of community is good, but you would be better off if that was a source of community that didn't also tell you were a sinner deserving of damnation.
Yeah. And I think the problem is we don't really have a lot of those spaces, really. I think we're really
is a problem.
struggling to make them. There's a quote I really like, and it's everybody wants to live in a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. And I think that's part of the reason we don't have these sort of third spaces that the church does sort of occupy, at least in my life now. And I think that's sad, really, that we can't create these kind of spaces. So for me, it's just it's a nice place to have that community. There's some old grannies there that they don't have any family, so it's really the only time they really get to talk to people. And I think I just like going down there to speak to them. Really, it really
And I get that longing for community, but I still, that to me doesn't negate the harm of some of the teachings of Christianity. And I'm trying in my own way to create an online community for that sort of thing. Like, obviously my Discord server is small pond, but it's something. There are some organizations that try to be that place for people to have that secular third space that still has that sort of community. It's just not the sort of thing that has the robust infrastructure that religion currently has. But it's still worth trying. It's still worth pointing out the problems with religion, and advocating for these alternate spaces.
Yeah. So would you think, knowing that I didn't grow up in that kind of rapture-y, almost apocalyptic kind of culture, would you think that the culture that I grew up in, I would have been better without? Because I don't think that. I think it's been so nice that we can grow up in such a small little community, get to know our neighbors so well, to the fact that you can literally pop down to their house.
I
If they
think
got any sugar.
I think it would have been better for you if it was that culture absent the Christianity.
Yeah, so sort of absent that sort of.
Yeah, I don't think that what brought you that benefit there was Christianity. I think what brought you that benefit was community, and I think it would have been healthier for you had it not been centered around religion. So while I understand that it was good and important for you to have that community, what I'm saying is I think it would be better if people had opportunities like that, but instead of it being religiously based, that it is secular and it is just solely based on that communal aspect. And that's not something that's super prevalent right now, but it could be. And discussions like this make it closer to being reality.
Yeah, no, I agree. So do you think that, if it makes me happy, and, I'm telling you, at least from my experience, I don't want to speak for anybody else, just as a single person in a tiny little fishing village in the north of England, it didn't do me any harm. If it makes me happy, does it really matter?
I think it's still worth acknowledging the harms of something, even if people seem content with it. There's a lot of harm that comes from religion that people don't always recognize. I am someone who considered myself to be deconstructed, and I am still finding little breadcrumbs of things that I'm like, oh, that's a belief that I internalized from church.
Wow.
That's been harming me all these years. So it's a very difficult process to separate yourself from some of these harmful things that you're taught. And again, I'm glad that you don't personally feel that the things that you're taught were harmful, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't internalize things that you would have been healthier not internalizing, such as the idea that you were a sinner, such as the idea that you needed saving. I think it would have been healthier for you to grow up not being told those things, because if you internalize the idea that you are evil and worthy of torment or punishment, that is going to affect the way that you view yourself in a negative light.
Do we not sort of almost do that with sort of the legal system in a sort of way that these behaviors are bad, if you do them you're bad, it's not quite as
I don't think
stringent,
so.
but
Yeah, because I don't think like breaking a law makes you a bad person. The problem with Christianity is they teach that you have like a sinful or an evil nature, right? I don't think breaking a
yeah.
law means that you have an evil nature. It just means that you did something that is against the law. And in some cases, I disagree with the law, so I wouldn't even say that breaking the law is inherently always bad. Um, but Christianity tells you there is absolute moral good and absolute bad, and you are a bad person.
So do you agree that there is an objective bad behavior that you could exhibit?
I don't, but Christians do.
So even murder, so if someone was to commit murder, could we agree that that's objectively bad?
I lean more into like a subjectivist view of morality. Like
Okay.
personally, do I believe it's bad? Yes.
But you don't think that's just bad, just inherently?
I think that good and bad are labels that we ascribe to things based on whether we think people ought to or ought not to do them. I don't think absent of humanity there is like objective good or bad. Because without any
Okay.
minds to observe the behavior, how could one apply the label of good or bad?
Right. But within our societies, we do still teach that, murder's bad, stealing's bad,
Right.
you
I
know,
think
don't do these
I
some of
think
these behaviors, otherwise.
we can show like harm, right? We
Yeah.
can say this is something that has a negative impact, like a demonstrably negative impact. Here's the evidence for that. We can support that with reasoning. But what I'm saying is, absent of all humanity, absent of any mind, I don't think that that good and bad just exists objectively.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there are sort of concepts that we've built our sort of lives around. So yeah, I agree with that.
That's
Yeah.
more what I'm saying. I'm not saying that like you can't make a judgment about whether something is good or bad. I'm just saying like objective just means mind independent, and right now I'm still, this is something I'm still developing my opinion on, but as it stands, I don't see how there could be inherent goodness or badness absent of a mind to observe it.
Yeah, no. Totally with you there. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But sort of more to the point of this sort of idea of teaching kids, you know, it's a very strange concept, isn't it? It's this idea of, there are sins that you can commit that are bad. How do you convey that message? Because we've done it with the legal system, right? Presumably we can send that message through the legal system. Here's a set of behaviors. If you commit them, you're going to go to jail. We're going to punish you in some way if you do this. If you go around, killing people, you are going to be punished. So that there's still that sort of element within our society that maybe certain brands of Christianity do it fine, but agree it's bad in that sort of ethereal sense of some sort of omnipotent God is going to punish you. Yeah, I agree that's a bad message for kids, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think we do still send these messages to kids, just maybe just in different ways.
I would disagree because again I think there's a difference in saying that like you did something that is bad and you have an inherently bad nature.
Oh, right, yes.
I think those are two very distinct concepts, and I think having laws teaches the former and Christianity would teach the latter.
Yes, this idea that you are sort of born of sin, that or maybe you have the capacity for sin is sort of that's sort of more the message that I was taught, that you have the capacity for sin. It wasn't that you're an evil sinner, you need to repent. Totally not the Christianity that I would even support if someone was on that branch of it. That's not me, but it is the idea of you can be a sinner. You have to try to be good, I think is what I was taught almost.
But do you? Because what if someone converts to Christianity and then immediately gets hit by a bus? They're not going to be judged by their works. They're going to be judged on their faith, right?
No, so what I'm saying is that I was taught, you have the capacity to sin, so you have to try to be good. I think I do. If I'm in traffic and someone cuts me off, I have to think, don't lose your head. It's not worth it. So I think there's still that sort of
Funny to say, don't
point
lose
in
your
me.
head when you're Church of England.
Very true. Yes, very true. But that's kind of the thing, it's I have points in my life where I could overreact, I could be a bad person, but I try not to be. I try to cool myself almost.
I mean, and yeah, that's good, but like, I don't think you need Christianity to do that. I think that's probably stuff that you already believed or would have believed. I don't think you need Christianity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're group creatures, right? So we are always going to have these sort of behaviors that we promote and tell people not to do. So totally with you that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like, it's because if I were admonishing that would just mean that I don't believe in telling kids that there is right and wrong, and that's not what I'm trying to express. What I'm trying to express is that it's damaging to say some of these things to kids, just because if they internalize it, it'll negatively impact them for a long while.
So do you think if you'd grown up in my village, you'd sort of have these same views, or do you think you'd have seen
I think
sort
I
of a
talk
better
like
side
this.
of it? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, very unfortunate.
Sorry, I have no room to talk. I'm from Alabama.
Oh wow, nice. The South.
Right. So for me to talk about accents, that's not even pot calling the kettle black. That's even worse somehow. Yeah, I think I would still have these same criticisms because I, again, would advocate for like secular community.
Yeah. And I think we have both in the UK. I think
that's good. We need more of it here.
Don't have it in America. Do you not have as much of it, I guess?
No, it's kind of difficult to find those non-religious third spaces.
Right, yeah. See, a lot of people just don't care here is the sort of stance is, are you a Christian? Whatever. You're not, whatever. No one really gets sort of adversarial about that, I think is the thing here. It's sort of a, if it makes you happy, whatever, do your thing. I go fishing personally. Someone might just say that,
I just want to kiss my fish.
Well, that's exactly it. Some people just they just have different things that makes them tick, and church just seems to be one for me. I do a lot of other things, but it's just the Sunday, go see the old ladies, play some cards.
Well, I spend my Sundays doing atheist Sunday school with my buddy Mezzo, and then afterwards I have my after stream show for atheist Sunday school. The acronym for that is Ass for Ass.
Right. Very good.
So if you get tired of fishing and you want to stop by, Ass for Ass on Sunday.
Definitely, yeah, that would be an interesting one. Because like you say, trying to create these third spaces it's an uphill battle, I think.
Yes, it is. Well, Blake, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to wrap up stream for the night because I've been going for more than 2 hours and I have work in the morning. But I appreciate you coming up.
No worries. It was great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right. Thank you all for being here. Once again, if you're not already following, you should be. Let's see. I'm sure Joel is still live because he goes for like 20 billion hours. Yeah, he's live. We're gonna go on over to Joel. What are we gonna tell him? We're gonna talk about fishing. We're gonna talk about how we just want to go fishing. Don't mention my name necessarily. It'd be very funny if we just all go in and start talking about fishing. So have a good rest of your evening. I gotta wait for my hair to dry and then fall asleep. See ya, TikTok. And see ya, YouTube.